Hey everyone, it's Sally again with another very exciting Magic Mike moment because today I'm super duper excited to be interviewing Heather Mitchell, who is a money mentor, with Raw Energy. So welcome, Heather.
Thank you, Sally. It's so great to be here.
I've been hanging out for this one for quite a while. So let me just do a little bit of an intro to you. As a money mentor and teacher, you love to help people get into the right mindset for wealth creation, destroying limiting beliefs. Oh my God, awesome. Getting the universal energies to support them, and teaching financial literacy and how to invest. So it's a transformative process, but she also aims to show how fun and exciting investing actually is. Wow. So Heather finds that by changing people's mindset about their wealth, it spills into other areas in their life as well. So it's a win-win. So you've been a personal investor since early childhood. So you've had over 4 decades in the trenches. You've spent more than 15 years as a quantitative researcher. So your own investment account increased almost 2.5 times in under 5 years. That's pretty cool. So now you're specializing in tech and crypto investing. Wow, Heather, I've been really excited to sit down and have a chat with you about all of this. So why don't you share a little bit about your journey and to how you got here, because it sounds really exciting.
Yeah, I guess everything kind of my whole life has kind of led to this point, I think, because I started investing as a very young child, as you said. And,
Wow.
even I just remember because my dad was very forward thinking, he just involved me in the kind of family conversation. And
Right.
so even as early as 6 years old, I remember kind of just being there. We had this kind of insurance salesman and he used to come over and they used to kind of talk about investments. And I was just there drinking it in. And as an aside, you don't realize how much a 6-year-old can understand, but they understand a lot more than you think.
Yes, sponges.
So that was it. I've been investing all these years. And it was funny because in England you don't really talk about money. So I didn't really know what my friends were doing, but I kind of assumed they probably did. It was only really until I got here that I realized that actually, people don't really invest. And so that's really important. That's one of the things that I really want people to know, and especially women, is that they can invest and all of those things that, they don't have to work for every penny that they earn. So that's the kind of one thing that led here. And the other thing was my market research career, which I've, had for at least 15 years. And that was all about number crunching
Yeah.
and understanding human motivation. So why people do the things they do, why they make these decisions. And I studied NLP and marketing and all the things to really understand what makes people tick. So then so everything converged, and I just love kind of just bringing all those things together and just asking the right questions to kind of bring out that magic.
I love it because it really is. My whole ethos this year is work smarter, not harder, right? And investing so you can have passive income or whatever it is. So how long have you been out here in Australia?
5.5 years.
Right. Okay. So fairly recently, and you came out here and you thought, oh, holy poo, people really aren't that on top of their finances and not in saving stuff. Is that what it was, or investing?
Kind of. Because our company is Raw Energy, so it's all about energy
Yeah.
and it's holistic well-being. So taking well-being from a very broad perspective.
Yeah.
So we look at well-being in terms of, your body, your physical well-being, your mindset and mind, your connections, your time management, and also looking at money. And it's all part of this model.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, we've sort of started it when we came to Australia. And it's just I kind of, as I realized that people needed the money side, it just all kind of dovetailed together because that obviously was my specialism because I've been doing it all the while. So it just made sense for me to specialize in the financial side and empower women to actually do and be wealthy and understand how to be financially literate.
I love it. I can see the passion that's just flying through you, right? Because it's like it's so cool. And I just love the whole holistic approach because you're talking my language. Like it's so cool. And, looking at people's limiting beliefs and getting their mindset right. Hang on, I'm going to cough. Excuse me. But yeah, getting the mindset right is everything, right?
Oh, mindset is everything, and that's where we always start. Because if I could teach you about investing, But if you've got those limiting beliefs, if you don't really understand or don't really believe in yourself, if you
Yep.
have those, I'm not worth it, I'm
Yep.
not worth it, this is not for me, then obviously this is all going on underneath. But if you don't believe you're worth it, then you're just going to push it away. You know, one thing or another will happen and you'll inadvertently to sabotage yourself. And I've been very guilty of sabotaging myself so many times over the years, like not accepting, you know, an opportunity that's come up, or I've been offered 2 jobs and taken the lower one because I knew I could do it. And oh my God, there's so many things, or not doing things and then saying, well, I didn't want it anyway. You know, we're so good at kind of doing that to
Head talk,
ourselves.
right? The head chatter that goes on.
Oh, that's
And
it.
yeah, absolutely. And as you were saying, like when you're not valuing yourself, and direct reflection in your finances. So the
Oh
more you
God.
step up and value yourself, value your worth, then your finances are going to mirror that as well. And you know, so many people don't understand that. And when you do, it's like, oh my God, the light bulb comes on, and then money starts flowing in. So it's getting that confidence within yourself, building up that, you know, empowering yourself so that you do value yourself. And really, you know, it's linking in with self-love and all that sort of stuff, but your self-worth and your value absolutely mirrors into your finances. Absolutely.
And do you know, around about 80% of people don't feel that they're enough.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like such an unbelievable number. But if you think about that, that's an epidemic. You know, that's something that's, you know, across the world. So, you know, if you could just take back that, can you imagine the kinds of opportunities that you would find yourself with if, you know, people weren't kind of limiting themselves that way?
Getting in the way of themselves. I'm covered in goosebumps as you're talking about this, because it's just 80%. That's 4 out of 5 people, right? That's full on. You know, I am enough. You know, you are enough. You are worthy. You are worthy of, you know, having greatness in this life. You know, don't limit yourself. Get your mindset around that. So that leads into, you know, what do you think is your superpower? You know, why are people drawn to you? What is the magic, you know, that you bring to others?
I think it's a combination of factors. I think from my market research background, I think it's sort of asking the right questions and then triangulating it and making sense of it to understand people's stories. Because when people tell me their money stories, it's quite interesting, but it's almost like they're telling themselves for the very first time, because it's not the kind of question that you tend to get asked. It's to get
Yeah, yeah.
personal, right? So I go back so far, like I go back all the way to their childhood, their birth, you know, their ancestry, because obviously how your ancestors act will have an impact on the kind of family rules and the way that you operate. It just all permeates through. So just understanding that, you know, it's they're telling themselves that story, and it's very interesting. And it's very interesting when you just see the penny drop.
Yeah.
Like I have one client who, I was talking to her and she realized that she associated money with her father,
Yeah.
who she absolutely hated. So she absolutely had this really kind of a conflict relationship with money. And it was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. I had no idea that this was what was happening. But of course she would be repelling it. Of course she'd be pushing it away because she didn't like her father, right? So, you know, once she understood that, she was able to make a new relationship with money, and really someone you want to be friends with, someone that you'd want to hang out with, right? So then all of a sudden that wasn't taking place. So that's a, you know, a really beautiful kind of demonstration of how that whole thing works.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm feeling like your superpower is like, you know, revealing the truth or providing the light bulb moment for people, to so that awakening time. Like, whoa, man, because you can't change what you don't know, right? So you allow people to understand how their habits have been formed from the past or whatever. I love that. It's more tingles.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I had another client who, her father was really, he only complimented her mother and her if they were looking pretty and wearing nice clothes.
Yeah.
So she had this terrible habit of buying clothes. She was spending thousands and thousands of dollars on clothes because she was programmed that she, in order to be worthy, she had to look beautiful.
Yeah.
So again, it's like, oh my God, you know, she wasn't aware that that was happening, but that was what she was doing.
Right. It just becomes autopilot, right? It's just tapped in your subconscious and you just go along the way every day, playing out these stories. Like,
Exactly, because 95% of your actions are subconscious.
yeah,
You know, because you won't go on autopilot. If you had to think about everything, it would just be too much brain power. So most of the things you do, you know, you go to the supermarket and you automatically buy the same things that you bought last time. It's, you know, you can't think about everything. So obviously your subconscious, getting that right is so crucial.
yeah, man, everybody needs you, Heather.
Oh, wow, thank you.
It's awesome. So just getting back onto your clients, what do you think overall is the biggest issue facing them? Would it be that they don't understand, haven't, I don't know, what's...
Well, the first thing is the not enoughness that we already talked about,
Yeah.
which is huge. It really is, because they're obviously self-sabotaging themselves, and you know, it's just horrendous. And the other thing is financial literacy, because you know, women are statistically less financially literate than men. You
Yeah.
know, 30% less financially literate, in fact. And it's just like, well, they make up, you know, depending on which country, around about or more than 50% of the workforce. So why should it be that in this day and age,
Yeah.
women are less financially literate? It just makes no sense to me.
Yes.
So it makes me cross, actually. So yeah, so it's my kind of mission to kind of make it even, you know, at the very least, but you know, to empower people, because it's very, very disempowering. And it's like almost the traditions, you know, it's like it harps back to, in a partnership, the women tend to do the chores and the men tend to do the DIY stroke finances. It's just the way it kind of divides, but it doesn't really make sense, because it's very disempowering to the woman, because they're not understanding the systems, and it can actually lead to kind of, you know, financial kind of, you know, abuse as well, which is really bad. Yeah, it's just like, that's one extreme of it.
Yeah. So, yep, not enoughness and not being financially literate enough or whatever. So then that leads on to, you know, based on everything, like all your experiences and your own knowledge and your wisdom, what are 3 top tips you could recommend for people to help them around their money situations?
Okay. Well, I always start with mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's where I always start, no matter what, because obviously what we said, if there's no point in going there if you haven't actually got the kind of mindset right. So I always start there. So whatever you can do to actually repair some of those limiting beliefs is always going to help you, and not just in this, you know, the finances, but in all aspects of your life.
Yeah.
Then it's learning how to invest. I think that's really important. And, you know, because I think it's not the most fun thing for a lot of people, so they tend to hand it over to somebody else.
Yeah.
But the truth is that, you know, nobody cares about your money more than you do. So it's kind of in your interest, right, to learn how to do it yourself, you know, and you can get all the, you know, better results. In fact, Warren Buffett, the famous investor, he had a bet with all the best fund managers in the world. He had $1 million bet that he couldn't beat, just the average for a year. And you know, he won his bet. Like, not one of them could beat the average, which is like mad, because they get the biggest bonuses, the hugest salaries, and they couldn't even beat the average. So so yeah, so you can definitely do better than them and not have to pay all those high fees as well, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So I think I've got one more. So the other thing that I think is really important is to get the universe on your side. So, so there are so many energies and universal laws that you can harness. You know, why work against them? If you understand that they're happening, right, you can harness them and get them to work with you. So I'd spend a lot of time just getting people, just putting things in place to work with the universe as well.
Yeah. Love that. So mindset, learning how to invest and get the universe on your side. 3 fantastic tips. I just wanted to get back onto, in your bio, I was talking about that you specialize in tech and crypto investing. So I'd love to chat just a little bit about the whole crypto, your thoughts on that, because it's, you know, it's the buzzword at the moment. So
it is, yeah. I mean, I love crypto because it kind of represents a lot of different things. It's kind of a hedge. I mean, obviously all these things are happening in the Ukraine at the moment and things like that. Well, you know, a lot of their funds have been frozen in Russia and things, and they're kind of going on to Bitcoin. You know, that's an example of it kind of, you know, being like almost the only option for them.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, it operates in all different ways. It can be a hedge against inflation. It could be, it's a bit like gold, and it kind of has a store of value, because it's the opposite of inflation. It's deflationary, because there's only 21 million and about 1 million have already been lost. So it's got this kind of, this store of value, and it's native to the internet. Like, it's got to be the future. It has to be, because the money that we've got is just so, antiquated. Plus, of course, US is in $28 trillion in debt, and that's trillion with a T, which is just absolutely crazy. And so there is an end to it. It looks like it's not going to last very much longer.
Yeah.
So it's like, you need to have this. It's outside the system. It's a hedge of all the craziness that's happening at the moment. So there's just so many reasons, and it's obviously a good investment in its own right. But that's almost like another side to it. It's almost like you just need some crypto just because of all this madness. It's like an insurance policy almost.
Yeah, that's right, because you've got to balance it, and you look at how much they're just printing more and more money. It's like printing. It's like you can just feel it. Like we were talking just prior to this recording, that it's all about energy, right? And you can just feel it. And energy is the new way forward. It's like everything's based on energy. So yeah, it's interesting because, the majority of people, crypto, very cautious and whatever, but it's becoming more in the conversations, day-to-day conversations. It was COVID, now it's crypto, and yeah, it's interesting, and it's very the way forward, as you say. So I'll get my kids to listen to this one. Always bagging.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, it's a bit complicated, a little bit more complicated than just normal trading. But once you get the hang of it, it's just what it is. It's just straightforward, and they'll make it easier. They're all the time making it easier.
Yeah, because as you mentioned before, in one of the issues for your niche is not being financially literate, and part of that is understanding this new sort of money solution or platform, I suppose. Yeah, interesting. So over all of the years and your amazing journey that you've been on, what would you say you've let go of? How have you stepped up, and how have you become more of yourself? Found that deeper connection with yourself?
Well, a word that's come up for me for many years now, on all different contexts, is surrender. And actually, originally it came up, funnily enough, I was in I'm an artist as well. So I was in a life drawing class, and my teacher talked about surrendering to the actual picture in front of you, rather than drawing what you thought you should draw, the sort of perceived kind of idea of it. But it obviously extended much more than that. And I think, like, my whole journey to Australia was all about surrender, because when we were in England, there was no reason to go. We had a brilliant life in England. We had a beautiful home, wonderful jobs, everything was just perfect. And it was very hard, because we it wasn't like a burning platform. We had to really make a decision. So in fact, it took 5 years. Like, we only had it for 5 years, and it took the whole 5 years to decide to actually go. We arrived 4 days before our visas expired.
Wow.
Which is a bit mad. But the point was that it was almost like we were being led. Yeah. Every obstacle was melting away. Like, for instance, we got the most rarest visas. Like, no one's ever heard of our visas. That were so brilliant and rare, and they brought them in and took them out. We just got them, and like, I think 6 months, they just took them out again. So we got these amazing visas. Like, everything that we said, oh, we can't go because of this, it just melted away, and it just happened. So the path was opened. And I remember saying at the time, oh gosh, I think we're being led here. We have to go there. I don't know why, but we're being led there. So it was kind of, it's that pathway, and it's continued since we've been there. So I've grown so much, spiritually, emotionally, fundamentally. I've just changed. I've reinvented myself again. Yeah. It's been such a journey, and it was totally the right decision. So it was all kind of part of that surrendering thing.
I love it. So you're following the energy, right? And by letting go and allowing yourself to just trust and believe, right, that you're on the right path, that this is the right thing for us. It's amazing, because the more that you let go and surrender, as you say, magic happens. It just happens. You get out of your head, get out of your logic head, and just get gut and trust it and be guided. Like, oh my God, you just cover me in goosebumps this whole conversation. It's great.
And it's amazing how like elegant it all is, because you couldn't make it up. Like if you want to say, I want to go from A to B, but it will the universe comes up with the most elegant way that it will introduce you to somebody, and then that person will introduce you to somebody else, and it just all flows so elegantly. I just love it. It's magical. It is magic, really.
Yeah. I think part of your superpower is having the elegance around the whole topic of money, right? Because it's not a dirty word. It's a beautiful word, and you make it more elegant through this conversation. That's what I'm picking up.
Yeah.
So by stepping up to be more, how have you stepped up? You've let go, stepped up by trusting yourself more, or
just getting out there.
Yeah.
I was always a bit of a wallflower. I've literally transformed myself. I was so shy. I wouldn't tell anyone about my feelings. I just would rather blend into the background. I mean, literally, I have changed myself from being an introvert to a more of an extrovert. It's just the whole thing. I've reinvented myself. So stepped up by, like I'm on LinkedIn every day, I'm doing videos, I'm doing this, like this would have horrified me at some point in my life, but here I am.
It's awesome. It's just awesome. I was like, empowering, and getting your story out there to empower other women. It's just beautiful. And taking all the old beliefs about money and reinventing other people's perceptions about it and their mindset and their connection with money, right? And so valuing themselves more.
And with themselves. It's about understanding, because you'd think, you live with yourself all these years, you would think that you would know yourself really well. But it's so strange, it's almost like you know yourself so little. Plus, you're nasty to yourself, the way that the words you say to yourself, the way that you step inside in your own way, it's almost like you're your own worst enemy.
Exactly.
So it's right, yeah, just understanding that kind of dialogue that goes on, and it's just like, this is actually not serving you whatsoever, and just once you can kind of realize it's happening and step in and just go, hang on a second, like I don't do that anymore. Like I'm kind to myself. Like this is amazing. This is part of that journey, is that, I don't do that negative thing anymore.
Yeah, because that head talk, right? That inner critic, so quick in there to sabotage and put you down. Like the things that most people say to themselves, they would never say to their worst enemy, right? And you think, what energy are you continually feeding into your being? Like, oh, you're hopeless at money, you can't do this, you can't do that, that'll never work, you're not good enough. It's like, that's rubbish. That's rubbish.
Well, no wonder they don't succeed, right? Because obviously, if you're working on in front, it's like an influx, kind of a bombardment of negativity. Well, how can you wade through that? It's just so hard.
Yeah. And that's the key to success, right? Turn it all around. So, it's just great. So what is the ultimate thing that drives you, that keeps you going every day, your passion that sparks your light, really gets you going every day?
I think it really is this empowerment of women. It really does. It really annoys me that there is this disparity, and I love those light bulb moments. I love it when I see people going, oh wow, that's what's going on, or oh, I didn't realize that money worked this way, or I can do this. It's like these little moments of empowerment that once you switch it on, you can't switch it off again. You can't unsee something. So I just love being able to be that person that kind of lights up that light.
Yeah. So who would be your ideal client?
My ideal client are pretty much people like me, actually. So people in their 40s and 50s, people who either have their own business or they're kind of execs in companies, but kind of want a bit more juice out of life. They just think that there could be something more to life, and maybe having some more time for themselves, because they're just giving to everybody else but not kind of taking for themselves. And just open to the ideas of the energies, because that's kind of a big part of what I do. It's kind of, I do the whole esoteric and the practical all together.
And of course, your ideal client is someone you've experienced it, so you want to help them experience it in a more positive way of what they're going through. So you've already lived what they're going through right now, and you can just help them not stumble so much, right? Pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and feel so much better, and getting that more meaning out of life. I love that, right? Just so getting more joy, more fun and happiness in their everyday stuff. It's like, it's, you know, you are so speaking my language. I love it. So down the track, how would you like to be remembered? What would be your sort of legacy you'd like to leave?
I'd like to be remembered for transforming the money stories of women all around the world.
Oh,
And by definition, their families as well, because women are so pivotal to the whole family that it has that knock-on effect of all the other people in their lives as well. So, I think, it's just kind of being able to kind of be that catalyst in people's lives to kind of change and transform. And it's not just about the money. They come to me about the money, but actually it's their whole lives really.
and as we said earlier, it's about themselves, because the money is direct reflection in where you're sitting with your own self-value, your self-worth. And how lucky and grateful and blessed are you to have the upbringing that you did with your dad from such a young age, because it impacts us to such a huge amount as kids, that the external environment. And you had a wonderful experience with your dad, so yeah, what a top dude he is.
I know. He was so kind of just forward thinking. He's passed now, but he would have been about 95 now. Like, he was just ahead of his time. He was computer programming in the 70s, and he just had that kind of just slightly different view of life. He could just see things that other people couldn't see. Yeah, and he was a beautiful man as well, just really kind and lovely.
Yeah. It's brought you to where you are now, which is just wonderful. So I think you run a 6-week program, is that right?
Yes, it's called the Foundations of Financial Freedom,
Mhm.
and it's a 6-week program. It each one is 2 hours, and it's weekly. And there's also a one-to-one at the end to bring everything together. And literally, we do what I just said. So we start with the mindset. So we make sure we get all the limiting beliefs out of the way before we even start. Then we talk about the universal energies and making sure, from Eastern practices, Hawaiian, there's all these different things that you can bring into your life to bring the energies into your life.
Yeah.
And then we think about your numbers and treating your life more like a business to make sure that there's a profit at the end of every month. Then we talk about spend, and then we talk about the kind of meaty stuff, which is investing, how to build a portfolio, how to actually doing trades on the stock market, and also crypto trading. So just this whole kind of journey, all the way from the mindset right the way down to the practical.
I love it. I love it. Just every person I know should be doing this course. Just shifting your whole energy around money, repositioning it. So, and I suppose, of course, you deal a lot with debt, because I know a lot of people have got themselves into a lot of debt. And you get
Yeah,
out of debt.
absolutely, absolutely. And it's interesting because for example, we look at your numbers and we put it all down on a spreadsheet, and it's like, the clients I have with debt, it's very interesting because even that, once it's all listed out in black and white in front of you, what needs to be done kind of pops out at you. That's the kind of data analytics side. It's just that putting the money, the numbers in front of you just gives you that clarity. So you kind of know what to do. It's like not shying away from it. It's like
Yes.
facing it head on,
Yeah.
accepting where you are, because you never want to kind of reject where you are, because that leads to resistance. So it's like accepting and then kind of making a plan and moving positively towards where you want to go.
That's right. And it's all about the energy is positive, right? So let's look at the absolute truth, the cold, hard truth of where we're sitting financially right now, and in a positive way, shift people forward. Yeah, I love it. This has definitely been a very goosebumpy moment for me, this whole conversation, because it's just, the flow is right, the energy is right. And it's time now for people to really value themselves more and pick up. And why not? There is so much abundance out there. Let's just tap into it and start with your mindset. It's awesome. So how can people get in touch with you, Heather?
Well, the easiest way is through LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just heather.mitchell on the LinkedIn. And then otherwise, my email, heather@getrawenergy.co.
Oh, fantastic. Brilliant. Oh, wow. So I'll put all those in the links in when I post this up. But Heather, thank you so much for spending some time with me and allowing me to really understand more about raw energy and what you're doing. And as a money mentor, it's fabulous. Your passion, it's just shining through. And as I said, you're shining through in an elegant way and making the whole conversation about money very elegant. So, it's just awesome, just brilliant. So thank you so much for your time today. I've really, really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Ali, and thanks for what you do. I think you're amazing, just bringing people's stories to life, and just all the energetic stuff that you do is just like so cool. I need to know more about that as well.
We'll have another conversation, but it's time. Stories are fascinating because we've all lived lives and we've all got here with lots of journeys, and it's just fascinating seeing how people's journeys have shaped them to who they are today, particularly yours around money. It's just awesome. But anyway, I'll let you go, and thank you so much for coming on, and I look forward to having further chats with you, Heather. So we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Ali.